Also known as a permanent way, train tracks provide a dependable surface for trains to roll along. They are a cornerstone of public transport, but did you know they can be significantly more interesting than you might realize? Not all railway tracks are a bog-standard straight line, zipping from A to B. Some are almost labyrinth-like in their layout and complexity. These are the most amazing railway tracks in the world. Number 15. The Brusio Spiral Viaduct. The varying elevation of the landscape in Switzerland has posed a unique challenge to railway designers, and one incredible solution they came up with was the Brusio Spiral Viaduct. It was designed to allow trains to reach higher altitudes while traveling along the main line between Brusio and Compassion, and actually raises them by 20 meters in an incredibly short distance. This is almost unheard of with railways, because engines are only just powerful enough to pull their loads along flat tracks, let alone up an incline. Without a solution like this viaduct, they wouldn't have been able to transport much at all. The spiral structure is 110 meters long and is formed of 9 spans every 10 meters along its main track, with a horizontal radius of curvature of 70 meters and a 7% longitudinal slope. You won't see anything like this anywhere else in the world. Perhaps most impressive is the fact that this design was designed and built in 1908 and is fully constructed from stone. It contributed to the flourishing success of the towns it connects, and is still a vital part of the transport network to this day. Like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 14. Glacier Express, Switzerland. Switzerland is a country full of mountains, hilly terrain, and valleys, and at the beginning of the 1900s, a massive engineering feat was undertaken to build the Glacier Express. This rail route connected the commercial hubs of the country from the west to east. But the problem was, there's a mountain range in the way. Don't let the name fool you. This is hardly a fast way to travel.
Take your seat on the Glacier Express.
And it is, in fact, the slowest express route in the world, taking 8 hours from end to end. But there's a very good reason for that. It covers a 181-mile-long journey, and to navigate the terrain and ensure that the gradient of the track never rises above 3.5%, there are 291 bridges and 91 tunnels, including the Furka Tunnel, which itself is 9.6 miles long. It's an astonishing feat of engineering, and has been integral to the Swiss economy since it first opened in 1930. If you want to travel along the route, make sure you have a Swiss watch to keep track of time though, because during the winter, there's only 1 train in each direction per day, and this only increases to 3 in the summer. Number 13. Gisborne Airport, New Zealand. Gisborne Airport is a relatively remote and quiet transport hub that's on the east coast of New Zealand's North Island. Located in the outskirts of the town it serves, its runway is a one-of-a-kind, because instead of being a dedicated stretch of tarmac for planes to land and take off, it's actually bisected by a railway track. Covering an area of 160 hectares, the airport covers the most convenient route out of the region, so engineers had no choice but to design this unusual workaround. The Palmerston North to Gisborne train line is one of the most important transport links on the island. But since 2001, it has only catered to freight trains after the demand for passenger services dropped. This makes it easier to run the complicated timetables through the airport where, of course, serious planning has to be made to ensure trains and planes aren't trying to use the route at the same time. Most trains now run overnight, and the airport's only open between 6:30 in the morning and 8:30 in the evening. And thankfully, over the decades that this situation has been the case, there's not even been a close call. Number 12. Japan's monorail track switching. While most of us think of monorails as transport networks that you ride on at theme parks, the technology has actually been incorporated into the urban design of some places in the world. Most notably, Japan. Tokyo's monorail was the country's first urban monorail system and is responsible for transporting hundreds of thousands of people each day. But none of this would have been possible without Hitachi's novel approach to track switching. Switches are vital to routing trains along different routes, and it has enabled city planners to create transport hubs where trains on a number of different lines can stop. With a monorail, it's more complicated than switching tracks on a traditional railway, and Tokyo switches, in some cases, can move between 5 different options. It actually involves moving an entire section of the track itself to make the connection. But from the passenger's perspective, it remains as smooth a ride as the rest of the journey. You won't even notice when you're passing over one of these systems, and it's testament to the innovative design that's being used. Number 11. The Shonan Monorail. The Shonan Monorail connects commuters between Ofuna and Shonan near Tokyo in Japan, and is the first transport system like this to be built in the country. Because instead of sitting above the track like most monorails, the cars are suspended below it. Opened in 1970, the 4.1-mile-long track serves 8 stations, and trains can travel at speeds of up to 45 miles per hour. As well as traveling very close to the surrounding buildings, there are 2 tunnels along the route, and you can complete the journey end-to-end in just 14 minutes. It's a vital transport artery through the region, with departures every 7 minutes, and has been credited with relieving the pressure from the road and traditional rail networks, and has significantly increased the city's public travel capacity. Based on its success, others like it have been built around the country, and the company that designed it, Mitsubishi, has become a world leader in such designs. It's hoped, of course, that cities in other countries will adopt the technology for their own needs too, but right now demand is yet to take off. Number 10. Rameshwaram Train Bridge. This incredible structure is the Pamban train bridge that connects the Indian island of Pamban with the town of Mandapan on the mainland. It was the country's first sea bridge, having opened in 1914, and is just under 1.5 miles long. Before the parallel road bridge was completed in 1988, it was the only land connection to the island, and, as such, was an integral part of the local transport network. It holds the track 41 feet above sea level and is made up of 143 piers, and a section that has a lift that can be raised to allow ships to pass underneath. While you're riding on a train along the bridge, it's so narrow that all you can see from the windows is the water, which leads to a rather surreal experience. Unfortunately, cracks were detected in the structure in 2018, and after more than 100 years in service, it remains closed. Rather than repairing it, plans are now underway to build a new modernized bridge to replace it, and the future of the Pamban train bridge is unknown. Number 9. Devil's Nose Railway. Most railways travel from one destination to another, with various stops being along the way. But if you were to board a train on Ecuador's ominously named Devil's Nose Railway, you might just find yourself ending up where you started. It took almost 10 years to build, after 25 years of planning, and finally opened in 1908. It was designed to connect with the coastal city of Guayaquil with the country's capital, Quito. But the problem was, there's an almost vertical wall of rocks in the way, which is known as the Devil's Nose. Engineers pondered how to get past this geographical blockage, and the solution was to carve tight zigzags into it, which would allow the trains to ascend the incline by carefully going forwards and backwards along the line. It was once commonplace for people to sit on the roof of the train to take in the astonishing scenery. But since safety regulations were brought in, and following a devastating storm in 1997, only an 8-mile stretch of the route remains in operation. Still, it remains one of the most impressively designed railways in the world, and for almost 90 years kept the country connected. Number 8. The Death Railway. The frighteningly named Death Railway, which locally is known as the Burma Railway, is a route between Ban Pong in Thailand and Danbiziet in Burma. It passes through luscious terrain, crosses the notorious bridge over River Kwai, and navigates the Hellfire Pass in the Tenasserim Hills. But for all its beauty and majesty,